Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Faith Loop. It is Wednesday, January 14th. You know, it's funny, Dad, speaking of the 14th, it was kind of hilarious. Ryan and I were in here earlier this morning, been meeting, just talking about the Lord and whatnot. I was using an example of something, you know, when giving gifts and stuff. We were talking about a couple different things, and I was using gifts, and I said, you know, say it's like it's your birthday, and he says, yes, it is. Like that, and I was like, oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. He was born January 14th. Right. I'm like, it is.
Yes, sir.
And no clue. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. So it's relevant to him. But anyway, it was just a little side story there.
Yeah, a little side note.
Yes. Oldest grandchild.
Yeah.
First grandchild.
First one.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I remember carrying him around. He tried to take every pencil I had in my pocket out. And take everything out of my shirt pocket. He loved to do that. I couldn't keep anything in that shirt pocket if I was holding him. Ain't nothing.
Curious.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, mercy.
Well, that's pretty fascinating there. You know.
Yeah, you know.
How's that work?
How do you have that in there? It's just amazing. Day 2,112,351 of the crisis of identity, and we're going to be talking over the next little while. I've thought about this quite some time. We discuss a lot of things about Christianity, and if you've watched Inside the Faith Loop for any space of time, length of time, you go back and you go look at our on the Faith Loop YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. You and I, that's the opening video. It's still there. It's the featured video at the top. We have talking about Christian. Mm-hmm. What it means to be Christian and things like, and we've looked at this topic a lot, and something I was telling Dad, just going through and looking at the world around us. Had a little bit of this discussion with Ryan this morning. We're talking about how are you set apart? How are you a holy people? This is what Israel, Jehovah said to him, a people that are set apart for a special purpose. A holy people, that's what that means.
Yep.
And for some time, I've thought about this. And the tough thing is you get lumped into this group. There's a group out there, and it's part of a philosophical thought process, deconstruction. You have to, you know, and everybody's out there deconstructing their faith, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not deconstructing my faith.
No.
But I am leaving the institution. But it got me to thinking too about this one thing. We didn't discuss this yesterday, but I was looking at it and said, what is mankind established on the earth?
Well, depends on what you're talking about.
Just as a general thought process.
A lot of problems. Well, you know, what we've made and all our inventions and our so-called advances. And we've established kingdoms, societies.
That's
nations.
more it. Yes.
Yeah.
Forms of existence.
No.
social constructs that say this is how you define life.
Yep.
And we're still arguing about it.
Yep. We are.
Right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yes. Look what's going on right now. We're trying to buy Greenland.
It's a war. It's a race to who will define man-made intelligence that will redefine existence. That's what this race is. And before we begin our walk through the biblical narrative with some of these things, I want to look at the word institution. And you look at the online etymology dictionary of the word institution, and it's a noun. 1400s, action of establishing or founding a system of government, a religious order, etc. From the old French, institution, foundation, thing established. The 12th century, from Latin, institutionem. There you go. Institutio. A disposition. Everything goes back to, we talk about this, the disposition of the mind. A disposition, arrangement, instruction, education. See, institute, which is the verb, which is to establish in office, appoint, and then you have the noun of that, purpose, design. That's the noun form of the word institute. So look at the thought processes, and this why I say leaving the institution. See, there was a point after the rebellion, there was a long space. You had the flood, you had Noah, and then there was a man named Abram. And Jehovah came to him and said, I'm going to establish my covenant with you. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to establish? What does it mean? You look at these words. You look at the biblical narrative, and the word "establish" there means to raise up or to rise up. What is man doing? When you establish something, when you institute something, that's what you're doing. And you look at it: purpose, design, in the noun form, to establish an office, and you go back, action of establishing or founding. The institutions of man. And this is what I've been talking about for some time. This is what we're looking at. What mankind has established on the earth. And it's in his own form. It's in his own image, Dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Because if you go back, and I have no idea why theological seminaries and students and so forth and down through the ages haven't looked at this. They treat Genesis like a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. We got the snake in the tree, and we got the apple, and we got all of this. It's funny how the snake is in the tree and on his belly before the Lord cursed him.
I always thought that quite fascinating.
Yeah. This beast of the field. It says beast of the field. That's what it says. It doesn't say snake, gorilla, crocodile. It just says a beast of the field.
Yep.
And we treat it like, as I said, a fairy tale. But I got to reading one time, and I looked into it because Lord, it's got to be more than that. So I began to look and began to study and began to think about things. And when you really look at those things in the beginning, and we misconstrue the Bible so badly. If you talk about Nimrod, you'll automatically think of the Tower of Babel. It's the tower. God didn't want them to build that tower. Nimrod said, I'll build a tower so how you can't drown us anymore. That isn't what the Lord said. He said, They said, let us build a city and make a name for ourselves. That's what the Lord didn't want. Mm-hmm. He said, you're not going to do this.
Mm-hmm. Right? You're establishing an order, a society.
It was the city.
Yeah, I did.
Not the tower. Tower was part of it, but it was the city. Yep. And what did he do? He dispersed them so that they left off building what? The tower?
The city.
The city.
To make a name for themselves.
To make a name for themselves. So this I believe, was the first incident after the flood. I don't know what happened before. It could have happened, but after the flood, the first incident of the Lord intervening against that thought in man.
And you look at that, Dad. They had designed a purpose.
Yes.
To establish or found their own identity.
Yeah.
Their own name, what they were in the earth.
Yeah. And what they were telling God is, you're not going to do anything to us anymore.
Right.
We're going to build a city. We're going to make a name for ourselves. In other words, what's a name for yourself? We're going to trust in our own strength.
Yes. We have the authors. See, because name, back when you look at that word, you go back there and it says it. See, and I think that's always what's interesting to me about the son of Noah, Shem. That's the word they're used. You can translate, when you see the word name in the biblical narrative, you go back into the Hebrew, it's the word Shem. It's where we get our word Semitic. Mm-hmm. They dropped the H some time ago. It used to be Shemitic. Everything driving. And I find it fascinating that the Arabs, there's a big part of that. See, this is what I'm talking about. We have no clue what we're talking about. People say, oh, you're anti-Semitic, you're against the Jews. Well, Arabs are Semitic too. Do you know that?
Yep. They're Semitic people.
All from Abraham, because Abraham was in the line of Shem. All those were Semitic peoples. Ishmael was his son.
Yeah, his people.
Semitic people. So if you're anti-Semitic, that means you don't like the Arabs either?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? See, we say this nonsense and we have no clue what we're talking about. None. The Jews were only one tribe, folks. It's where the word Jew comes from the son, Judah. There was also the house of Benjamin that was part of the southern kingdom, the house of Manasseh. The 10 tribes in the northern kingdom were, when they split, that's what Israel was. Mm-hmm. Reuben, Dan, Naphtali. Yep. I know I'm going to miss, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Naphtali and a few of those.
Naphtali and
Manasseh or Manasseh, however you want to
pronounce it. Manasseh was part of the southern kingdom.
Yeah, that's right. It was part.
But you have this is what who talks about these? Nobody does. Arabs are Semitic peoples.
Well, what did the Lord tell Ishmael's mother through the messenger?
I'll make you a great nation.
I'm going to make him a great nation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying. But see, this is the problem. That's the first time they started instituting. They designed a purpose to make a name, to establish a system of government, of order, and bind people. This is what the word religion means, to bind people. And they bound people to that. Nimrod was binding people to his mindset, his way of thinking. We're doing that today. You don't think that we call the MAGA movement aren't binding people to their thought process. The other side, whatever progressive movement, this movement, socialism, this movement, it's a binding mechanism to define a social construct.
Yeah, Cicero would have called it a religare.
Yes. Because Cicero said we need to bind people back to the
Senate.
Roman form of social order.
Right.
With the gods, with the Senate. this is what he believed was destroying Rome.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have a clue or understand as we look back through these things in history in that respect. But this is what institutions, this is why I believe we must walk away. We have to leave the institutions of mankind, no matter what it is. And you think, well, we're going to talk about one today that is probably going to, most people will go like that. Okay. Want to leave a comment? You want to jump in the discussion? You can do it. I think Drew's got YouTube monitor over there. Dad's got Rumble over here. And so, glad you're joining with us. Jump in. Please do. Because once we understand what institution means and the understanding of that, then we can discuss the first topic. And something I've researched, Dad, as we've looked at this for some time. You look through history of Christianity, and you see all the different theological ideas. You see the schisms. You see the wars. Not to mention the so-called just wars that sent men to crusade in the what we call the Holy Land.
Yep.
Subduing nations to Christianity through war.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we have to discuss the biblical narrative correctly and in context. So we're going to start with this term Christian. Because in the account of the Acts of the Apostles, Antioch was a big to-do early on in
big city.
The gospel being preached, because it was a trade center.
Trade center, yeah, one of the biggest.
And they said at the time there was probably 100 to 300,000 people,
right,
population-wise in that city, which at that time, think about it.
Huge.
I mean, that's as big as St. Louis proper. I mean, probably not anymore because everybody's like. But you think about the city of St. Louis, just in proper, it was 315,000 people. You know, so that's what we're talking about. And it says, and when he found him, he's talking about Barnabas went to Tarsus to find Paul. He had just gone through all of his experience with Jesus. And Barnabas goes and found him and brought him to Antioch. For a whole year, they met with the church. That word church there is ecclesia in Greek, which means called out. So for a whole year, they met with the called out, the congregation of the saints, because we use this term church. So in our modern construct, everybody thinks there was some big building that everybody went to. It's true.
I know,
right?
Sure.
We're going to talk about these things. We're going to deal with some of these words that we use. But that's why I want to deal with this one first. Because this is the establishment that we've created within this structure, I think is completely wrong. So they met with the congregation and taught a great many people. And in Antioch, the disciples were first called Christians. And this is the big to-do, right? Well, we're going to read to you. I'm not going to read them all. We may. We'll see how far we get. But I went through these commentaries. The Preacher's Homiletical, Popular New Testament, Pulpit, Robertson's Word Pictures, B.W. Johnson, Alexander McLaren, John Gill, David Guzik, Robert Hawker, Albert Barnes, Cambridge Bible Commentary, Adam Clark, Matthew Henry, and E.W. Bullinger, or Bullinger, whichever you prefer.
Bullinger.
Right? Mm-hmm. Found it fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Because let's just start with the preacher's homiletical. On this particular subject, Christians. The name given to the disciples first in Antioch about 10 years after the ascension, hardly by the disciples themselves, for whom such titles as the brethren, the saints were enough, or by the Jews who would scarcely have admitted what the name seemed to imply, that Jesus of Nazareth had been the Messiah, but most likely by the pagans. Though whether by the Romans or by the Greeks or by the Syrians cannot be ascertained. It may be, or it may have been given by the populace of the civic authorities and intended as a nickname, since Antioch was fond of nicknames, or simply as a title of distinction derived from the watchword of their faith. In any case, the name belongs to popular slang. That's right off the get. The narrative within Christianity is that Paul and Barnabas coined this term and started calling everybody Christians.
No, they didn't.
Okay? That's the popular term. So I read you that first one. Here's the pulpit. Got to scroll down to it. Sorry. And we're scrolling, and we found it. Even for a whole year. Nope, not that one. We're called. There it is.
There it is.
It was a memorable event in the history of the church when the name of Christians, which has distinguished them for nearly 18 centuries and a half, was given to the disciples of Christ. Hitherto, they had been called among themselves disciples and brethren and saints, and by the Jews, men of the way, or Nazarenes. But now they receive the name Christians as followers of Christ from the outside world and accepted it themselves. But see, we always look at this. See, it isn't something, a moniker that was, we said this. No, at the time, and this is what's problematic, and this is the point we want to make today. Okay? Because we're talking about institutions. Robertson's word pictures. The first active infinitive is also a subject of and is added as a separate item by the use of te rather than kai. For the word itself in the sense of divine command, see note, blah, blah, blah. The word is made after the pattern of Herodians, Caesareans, Caesaros, meaning also belonging to Caesar, like the common adjective, Caesarianus or Caesaranus. It is made thus like a Latin adjective, though it is a Greek word, and it refers to the Hebrew belief in a Messiah. The name was evidently given to the followers of Christ by the Gentiles to distinguish them from the Jews, since they were Greeks, not Grecian Jews. The Jews would not call them Christians because of their own use of Christos, the Messiah. The Jews termed them Galileans or Nazareans. And Christ called themselves disciples, learners, believers, brethren, saints, those of the way. This is the common thought process. And I thought this was interesting. He added here, he said, the three uses of Christian in the New Testament are from the heathen standpoint. Acts 26:28, a term of contempt in the mouth of Agrippa. When Paul is sitting before Agrippa. persecution from the Roman government. It is a clear distinction from both Jews and Gentiles, and it is not strange that it came into use first here in Antioch when a large Greek church congregation gave occasion for it. Later, Ignatius was bishop in Antioch and blah, blah, blah. And we all say, I'm going to move on here. B.W. Johnson. The Jews called them Nazarenes or Galileans. They called themselves disciples, brethren, saints. The new term was probably bestowed by the Gentiles. Got a theme going on here, I think, Dad. Alexander McLaren.
Did you pass up that popular New Testament?
Haven't got there yet.
No, it's second.
I did. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll come back to it. See
fine.
if I can get down here. Anyway, let's go back there. Popular New Testament. The name Christian marked the arrival of a new fact in the world. It's his thought. This new fact was the formation of a self-existent, self-conscious Church of Christ, independent of Judaism. This too, now that's his opinion of that. This too was only 10 years after crucifixion. And he says, as to the origin of this new name, it certainly was not given by Jews to the followers of our Lord. The Jews would never have been willing even to seem to sanction the opinion that Jesus of Nazareth was Christ or Messiah, nor was the name assumed by the followers of our Lord as a chosen designation for themselves. Such titles as the disciples, brethren, saints. Everybody is in the same thing. Paul did not do this. Barnabas did not do this.
No, they did not.
I'm going to skip through a few of these here because all these are the same. You can go look this up.
And these are the guys that they teach in homiletics and Bible and theological seminaries. And
yeah, this is the
these are the guys they refer to.
And this is David Guzik, who is a
more modern day.
Yeah. He's talking about how the name Christian ever become associated with followers. He says the ending IAN meant the party of. A Christian was the party of Jesus. Christians is sort of like saying Jesusites or Jesus people. Fair enough. I don't have a problem with that.
Or Christ-like.
Yep. Also, soldiers under particular generals in Roman army would identify themselves by their general's name by adding IAN to the end. A soldier under Caesar would call himself a Caesarean. Yes, they would. In Antioch, they probably first used the term Christians to mock the followers of Jesus, which was a common thought in that city. Antioch was famous for its readiness to jeer and call names. It was known by its witty epigrams. But as the people of Antioch called the followers of Jesus, the Jesus people, the believers appreciated the title. So that much is stuck. I don't think so, but maybe, that's what, and it probably to a degree. Cambridge, the Cambridge Bible, same thing. It is most probable that this name was given them by the heathen in ridicule. The disciples of Jesus never give it to themselves, and as the use of it would imply that those who bore it were the followers of Messiah the Christ. And you get the idea. We read quite a few of them there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get the who says anything different? And you say, but Brian, why are you bringing this up? Well, here's the thing. The term Christian in and of itself, is it bad, or am I sitting here go, if somebody said, you're a Christian, do I go, oh dear, don't ever call me? No.
No.
It's not that. Do I use the terminology about myself? No, I do not. For this fact that we have institutionalized everything, and this is what this has become. The institution, you look throughout the biblical narrative, nobody ever did that. It was that. The brethren, the way, people of the way. Aren't we supposed to be just sons and daughters of Jehovah? What name is that, we say Jesus Christ. Christ isn't his last name. Mm-hmm. The word Christ is that, Messiah. It's a verb. It's a act of anointing somebody. What are you anointed with? The mind that was also in anointed Jesus.
Yep.
This is the anointing that our minds are renewed. It's not something we're called. It's just something that actually is.
Yeah, Jesus, the anointed one.
Yes.
The Messiah. Mashiach. It's not his, and I've said it for years, it's not his last name.
No. But yet, what happened is this term probably got used over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And it became, a thought process. And I'm sure just in popular everyday use, we do that. How many words start out, somebody will say something and then the next person thought it was cool. And how many made up words are there?
Bunches.
Well, Drew's over there laughing.
Nobody knows what 6, 7 means.
Nobody knows what 6, 7 means. Yeah, it's the big thing right now. Nobody knows. Who cares? And this is what I mean. And it's just this, like, we do these things. This was meant as a derogatory piece, but we take it and we go, okay, is the word itself? No, it was just a distinction, something that distinguished those people from others so that they could either mock them or say, hey, we're not going to mess with those people. Get them out of here.
Right.
Why do we call Israelites Jews? That was only one brother out of 12. One tribe. They aren't the identifiers. That's not the whole nation of Israel.
No, they were Hebrews, named after Hebron.
Israelites. Children of God. Mm-hmm. That's what he called them. I want you to be my children. This is the thought process. So if I'm in that respect, I'm coming from Jehovah in the biblical narrative, that's what I'm looking at.
Yep.
Now, Israel is just that, those are children of God. That's what, those who are with God, however you want to translate it, that's the meaning of it. So if I'm thinking in that respect, and this is what being born again is, born from above, then that's my father, and I'm just his son, and I carry his name, his authorship, his character, his nature, his being. That's what this is about. The term Christian then became something that they molded and set in motion and became the institution, and really, in my opinion, was founded at the Council of Nicaea.
Absolutely. And one of the problems that I think, and I've said this many times with Christian, that title, is the second question you have to ask is, what kind? Mm-hmm. I remember I was talking to a neighbor that I met. I hadn't met him, but he was out in the yard, and we got to talking. And he asked me what I did, and I said, I'm a minister. And he said, well, what faith? This is always the question you get. He said, what faith are you? I said, I'm just a believer. I said, I'm not.
Didn't he ask you what religion you were, though? Well, he used that term, didn't he?
No, he said, what faith?
Did he?
And then he talked about religion, yeah.
Gotcha.
And when I said that to him, he just looked at me. And he said, you're not any of those? I said, no, I'm just a believer in Jesus. He's almost like he was shocked.
Didn't know how to deal with that.
He said, and you're a minister.
Yeah.
I said, yes, I'm a minister. But you're not Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran? And I said, no, not any of them. I'm just a born-again believer in Jesus the Christ. And you find this. You have to ascertain. And, okay, most Catholics just call themselves Catholics.
Yes.
Most of
That's
them.
true.
Now, they will use the term Christian at times, but it's mostly
But
just
that's-
Catholic.
That's the actual kingdom, Christendom.
Yes. And so then you meet a Lutheran, which goes along with a lot of the Catholic doctrine just without the Pope. See, Luther, he didn't want to get rid of the church that he belonged to. He just wanted to get rid of the Pope because he didn't like the Pope.
He wanted to reform it.
Reform it. And that's what they were called, reformers. Mm-hmm. You're not destroying something you're trying to reform. You're just trying to change its shape and the face of it.
Reform.
Reform. I mean, these weren't antagonists. They weren't against it. They weren't, let's go find something new. No, they just said, we want to reform this. Then you talk to a Baptist, well, they're far away from Catholicism, Presbyterianism, Lutheranism. They're far away from that.
Yeah.
Then you talk to a Pentecostal, they're really far away from it. Now we've got the ecumenical guys, and we've got the charismatic people that are speaking in tongues now, and they're Catholic, whatever. And so, but that, because we speak in tongues, the rest of the doctrine's okay. It doesn't matter. And so, which one? See, if I was going to just trust in the term Christian, now I've got to figure out between 40,000 registered Christian denominations in this country, which one I'm going to pick that I think is right. Why don't I go to the book and look at that and just do what Jesus said? You must be born again.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's too hard there. That's too hard, brother. Dear God. Don't ask me to do that. How would I do that? Now, is it wrong to be in a congregation of the saints? No. They gathered in the New Testament. But the first churches that we call churches, these buildings we call churches, were built by Constantine. And they were former pagan temples that they changed. He just changed a few of them to satisfy those Christians.
Threw some holy water on it, and
Yeah,
we're good.
There it is. We fixed that.
Oh, mercy.
Changed the statues of Apollo into saints, and fixed that up. And so, but which one? Which one are you going to? The early believers, they gathered together. Yes, they assembled, but they were hiding. They had to, because
Not always hiding, but they would meet in people's homes and stuff.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
were hiding.
Yeah, some had, because it depended on where they were.
Yes, it depended.
Depending on where
Right,
they were.
Right. I agree.
And so, Paul, he had a great life. He drove a Mercedes chariot and had $1 million denarii in the bank, and he just was a
he was wearing the Versace robes.
yeah.
I mean, he was in Rome.
Oh yeah,
when in Rome,
he was blessed. I'm telling you. But now, from what I've read, he was running for his life most of the time. Had been let down all over a wall in a basket.
That doesn't mean you can't be prosperous or
No,
have
it
money.
doesn't mean that. No.
Right?
But that isn't
making
the
the
object
point.
of the gospel.
Right. Right.
Will God bless the work of your hands? Absolutely.
He'll prosper the work of your hands.
He will.
But why do the wicked prosper?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between blessing and prosperity.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What Jesus, the parable of the rich man. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build bigger barns. Mm-hmm. Well, but tonight, your life is required.
That's right.
So what are you going to do now? Solomon said it. He said, I'm going to leave all I have to some guy's going to waste it, squander
I'll tell you
it.
what. With that, and we'll talk about these things because I don't want to get too far afield,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
because I want to come back to this with Christian And when you look at this, see, I made this analogy for a reason, and why we said establishing. We don't like to think this way, but mankind has been, since the first man decided to make his own name through the knowledge of good and evil. We talked about Babel. We talked about Nimrod. And we talked about all those people gathering in the plain of Shinar to make a name for themselves. Whether we like to hear this or not, whether I think it's a terrible term, and if somebody called me a Christian, would I be offended in the one? No, not at all.
No.
But I understand what happened. And when Constantine called them all to his summer villa in Nicaea, it was to make a name for themselves. Now, I know that's not what is common amongst the doctrines,
But it's true.
but that's what happened.
Exactly.
And this is the tragedy of it. And Christian became and was instituted by men and among men to redefine existence, to marry. And when you read in Revelation about the prostitute sitting upon the beast, this is the moment that happened. That's when that happened, folks. I know we don't like to talk about, oh, you hate Catholics. No, I don't. No, I don't hate anybody.
No.
I just know what happened. I don't believe in isms. I don't believe in any of the isms. Unless a man is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven. That's what Jesus said, so I'm going with Jesus. I'm not going with men. I'm going with Jesus. Although Jesus is a man, I should say I'm going with the one man, because he's the one sitting at the right hand of the Father, making intercession. So if that's the one that we're supposed to follow, I'm going to follow him.
Absolutely.
Now, if another man comes along and he's got some things and they work within what Jesus talked about, I'll listen all day long.
Absolutely. I do.
And we talk and we share and we do. But that is the foundation of that. And we can't lose the objective. The problem was Jesus came to show us the objective, and in a short amount of time, Constantine and all these men came together and reshaped the objective and turned the truth of God into a lie. And we began to worship again the creature rather than the creator. And we turned Jesus into a mechanism of our own choice and our own doing, set him in a different place. We changed the person. We changed all these things. And that became, we institutionalized Christianity. We instituted it. We founded it. It's there. Jesus came to make a whole new, as we say, religion.
And we built our own kingdoms.
Through that method.
Yeah.
And it began to define mankind. It defined, as you said, nations. Still does.
Still does.
Western civilization, that's the fight right now. We can't give up our Christian heritage. And people say, well, it was war and kill. Yes, go look at it. Because it's no different than any other heritage. I don't lump them as worse or better or anything. All of mankind, that's all they've done. Dad said something a while back that I thought was profound. How much blood have we spilt in the earth? And that means everybody. War after war. How many clergy, no matter the institution, whether it be Catholicism, Orthodox, and Orthodox came first, actually. It was all the Orthodox. The schism that split was in 1100. And how do you... They excommunicated each other.
Yeah.
So who's Jehovah recognizing? Who's Jesus recognizing?
Which one's right?
Well, the Orthodox, we're all just still believing the same thing. Well, wait a minute. They excommunicated each other. So who's not going? If you believe these things,
Yeah. That's what they did.
that's what they did. What are we doing? What are we talking about? See, and we sit around and we go, oh, you know, we have no clue. But yet, oh, we're Christians. Really? What does that mean? I actually want to be born from above. And this is the nature of those
There's
things,
only
Dad.
one name given under heaven whereby men can be saved.
Thank you.
One.
One.
And if you don't call yourself after that name, I don't care what other appellation you put on yourself. There's only one name given.
And I don't think it's Christian.
And it's not any denominational name, institutional name.
Nope. The institutions among men are there for their own benefit.
Yes.
We've institutionalized people. We've bound them to nations, to kings, to governments. Heck, who doesn't want the evangelical voting bloc in this country?
Oh, they all do it.
Why? Is that what's going to save us? It's amazing to me, Dad.
It really is.
Final thoughts?
No. I think we pretty well said it. I know it's chaos out there. I know that.
It's a crisis of identity.
It is.
It truly is. I know we say that at the beginning, but I want people to understand because it is about making a name. You know, we bring this up. Mankind is set about to make his own name, right?
Yeah, and you know, all around the world, in Iran, there have been 2,000 people killed.
I know.
Protesters.
That's just what the government said.
Yeah, that's just what they wanted us to know. Yeah.
Right.
2,000, as Brian said. How much blood? How much blood does it take
I know.
to satisfy the greed of man? How much blood does it take? How many lives does it take? We've got a war in Ukraine with Russia and Ukraine. Still fighting. Still. There's been several million killed there. Several million. We've got protests going on in our country right here. People getting killed in the streets of our cities. For what? For what? If you want to get political, okay, let's do that. What part of the word illegal don't we understand? What part of the word illegal? I'd like to stand in front of these senators that are mouthing off and say, what part of illegal don't you understand, sir? Are you that stupid? Are you that ignorant that you don't know what it means? You see, it's all nonsense. It's nonsense. It's fighting. It's just for power, for this, for that.
For their
wealth.
own name.
Their own name, their own gain, everything.
Yeah.
Dear God. You know, and then we sit around and call ourselves a Christian nation. Okay.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Based on what we just see, you say that, but see, that's why I'm saying we have to leave the institution. Leave it behind.
Yeah, because what do you mean when you say that?
It has nothing to do with the kingdom of Jehovah.
No, people need to get born again is what they need to do. And stop all this nonsense.
Amen, Papa. Amen.
My opinion.
Folks, hope that made you think. We'll be back next week. We're going to continue in this vein. We're going to look at words within the scripture that are words that we use, words that have been part of the institution, and why we use them. And we're going to continue this conversation because the crisis of identity is epic.
It is.
It's tragic. And we need to come back to the truth and find the name in which gives us life.
Well, you know, AI is going to tell us who we are.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
That's the answer.
Man-made intelligence.
Yes.
That is the answer. Oh, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love.
And give life.
And give Jesus.